So in the last session, we discussed about features of Linux. And these are the minimum hardware requirement for Linux. Processor, RAM, and hard disk. This is the minimum hardware requirement. CLI means command line interface. GUI means graphical user interface. And these are the recommended partitions. While installing the operating system, these are the recommended partitions to be created in Linux. What is this partitions? I'll explain later. Before this, first I will explain about file system hierarchy model for Linux. So this is the file system hierarchy for Linux. What is this means? When you install Windows operating system, A and B are reserved for floppy, whether we are using or not. A and B are reserved for floppy. Those are for floppy drive. It starts creating the drives from C, that is in Windows. Right, I'm repeating. In Windows, while creating the partition, A and B are reserved for floppy. It starts creating the drive letters from C. Right. So C is compulsory partition in Linux because it is a primary partition. So when you are installing the operating system is going to install in C drive only, that is in Windows. So assume now you installed operating system, Windows operating system. Operating system is installed in C drive. That is the primary partition. Now, after entering to the operating system, if you open your C drive, there are some default folders. If you double click on your C drive, means you can see some default folders. Can you tell me what are they? Any idea? If you
I
open
think
my computer.
program files and Windows users like.
Yes, exactly. Same like that. In Linux also, /. It is a parent directory. / is a parent directory or top level directory in Linux. Okay, so /. This is a parent directory or top level directory in Linux. It is similar to C in Windows. In Windows, we have C drive. In Linux, we have /. What is this /? Means it is a parent directory or top level directory. Directory means folder. In Windows, we call folder. Here we call directory. Purpose is same. What is the use of folder? Folders are used for storing content. It may be files or subfolders, right? Same like that in Linux, we have directory. Only name is different. So the first directory in Linux is /. It is a parent directory or top level directory in Linux. Okay, it is similar to C in Windows. It contains subdirectories. These are the subdirectories under /. How we have folders in your C drive, same like that in Linux also you will get some default folders. So these are the default folders. And this was important to understand also the purpose of these folders. You're getting?
Yes, Madhuri. Yeah.
Done. So the first is root. Under /, first is root. Root is the home directory for super user. Root is a home directory for super user. Super user means administrator. In Windows we call administrator, here we call super user. Only name is different.
Yeah.
Okay, so root is the home directory for super user. It means as a super user, you logged in into your computer and you are creating any files or directories, the data is going to store under root. Now, as a super user, you logged in into your computer. There you are creating something data. You're creating some files or some directories you're creating. Where the data is going to store means under root by default. If you want to change the path, you can change the path. Even in Windows also, if you have only C drive, the data is going to store in C drive. If you have any other partitions like D, E, F partitions are there, manually you can change the location and you can store the data. Same like that in Linux also. Root is the home directory for super user. When the super user logged in and creating any files or directories, the data is going to store in root. If you want to change the location, you can change. Otherwise, by default, the data is going to store in root. Clear, right? Next one is home. Home is the home directory for normal user. As a normal user, you entered into your computer and you are creating any files or directories, the data is going to store under home by default. Here also, if you want to change the location, you can change the location. Otherwise, by default, the data is going to store under home. Here, one more point I want to tell you that once a user is created in Linux, by default, it will create a directory also. With same username, it will create a directory. Okay, say for example, now you created a user Tom. Immediately it will create a directory. What is the directory means Tom. In which location it will create the directory means under home. When you open a home directory, there you can see Tom directory also. Now, you created a user Jack. Immediately it creates a user. Sorry. When you create a user Jack, immediately it creates a directory. Can you tell me what is the name of the directory?
Jack.
Jack. Where it creates that Jack directory?
Home directory.
Exactly. So now under home we have Tom directory, Jack directory. When Tom user logged in and Tom is creating any files or directories, the data is going to store in Tom's directory, which is under home. When Jack logged in, Jack user logged in, Jack is creating any files or directories, data is going to store in Jack's directory, which is under home. For every user, separate directories are there. The data is going to store in that directories only. All the directories are under home.
Madhuri, yeah, I got one doubt here.
Yeah.
So those users cannot access to root directory.
Those user cannot.
Access to root directory.
As a super user, if you give permission, they can access.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So until unless they cannot access.
No, because it lasts for the password.
Yeah, okay.
So if they know the password, then they can access. Otherwise, as a super user, if you give permission to them, they can access.
Got it, got it.
Like there will be some minimum permissions can be there. You can give full permissions as a super user, what you can do, everything they can do, or you can give some specific permissions also. At the time also they can access. Clear?
Yes, clear, Madhuri.
Done. So next one is boot. Boot contains bootable files. OS bootable files are stored under boot. Also kernel. Up to RHEL6 version, kernel is stored under boot. What is kernel means? Kernel is an interface between shell and hardware. So that kernel is stored under boot up to version 6. And next one is sbin. Sbin contains super user commands, the commands which can be executed by super user. That commands are stored under sbin. Bin contains normal user commands, the commands which can be executed by normal users. That commands are stored under bin. Simple example. Now, you logged in as a normal user and you executed something command which can be executed by super user. As a normal user, you logged in, you are trying to create a user. Okay, so you give the command user add space username. It will not give you output because when you executed a command as a normal user, immediately it will check in bin. whether the command is there, permission is there for you or not. The command is not available in bin, it will not give you output. So I'm repeating, as bin, the commands which can be executed by super user, the commands are stored under as bin. The commands which can be executed by normal user, the commands are there in bin. So when we are executing the commands, it will check in that particular directories. If the commands are available, then only it will give you output. Clear?
Clear, Madhuri.
Then USR. USR contains default applications, applications which comes along with operating system. That applications are stored under USR. Applications which comes along with operating system, that applications are stored under USR. So for example, when you install Windows operating system, along with the Windows operating system, you will get Windows Media Player by default. Same like that in Linux also, some applications comes along with operating system. So that applications are stored under USR. I'm repeating again, / is a parent directory or top level directory in Linux. It contains subdirectories. It is similar to C in Windows. Directory means folder. Root is the home directory for super user. When super user logged in and super user is creating any files or directories, by default the data is going to store under root. Next one is home. Home is the home directory for normal user. As a normal user, you logged in and you are creating any files or directories, by default the data is going to store under home. Boot contains bootable files and kernel up to version 6. As bin contains super user commands, bin contains normal user commands. Clear these commands? Clear these directories?
Yes, Madhuri.
Done. USR contains default applications, applications which comes along with operating system. That applications are stored under USR. Where contains variable files, means log file, system log files. So for example, Windows, when you open Task Manager, you can see how many users logged in, how many applications they are running, how many process they are doing, how much CPU they used, all the information it will show. Same like that, here we have where directory. Where contains variable files, log files, how many users logged in, at what time they logged in, what are the commands they executed. Every information is maintained by where. And next one is dev. Dev contains devices information. Devices means partitions. In Windows we call partition, in Linux we call device. Okay, nothing is different, only name is different. In Windows we call partition, here we call device. Dev contains devices information, means partitions information. etc contains configuration files. As we discussed in the last session, Linux works with configuration files, not setup files. Where all the configuration files are stored means under etc. And next one is OPT. OPT contains optional applications. Applications which we install manually. That applications are stored under OPT. Means that applications are not compulsory to our computer. If we want, we install that applications. So those type of applications are stored under OPT. Like you want to install VirtualBox or virtual machine, or you want to install Cisco Packet Tracer or remote desktop software, you want to install different softwares. Maya software you want to install. Those are not compulsory in our computer. Based on our requirement, we install them. So those type of applications which we install manually, like third-party tools, that applications are stored under OPT. I'm repeating. USR contains default applications, applications which comes along with operating system. Where contains log files, system log files are stored under where. Dev contains devices informations, means partition information. etc contains configuration file, system configuration file. OPT contains optional applications. Applications which comes along, which we install manually. That applications are stored under OPT. Media. Media contains external devices information like external hard disk, external DVD writer, USB. That devices information is maintained by media. Up to RHEL6 version, external devices information is maintained by media. Okay, MNT. MNT contains partitions and their linked directories information. See, in Linux, after creating the partitions, directly we cannot access the partitions. In Windows means once we create partition and format the partition, if you double click on the partition means we can enter into the partition, we can access the partition. Like we can create content, you can delete content, you can check content. But in Linux, it is not like that. After creating the partitions, directly we cannot access the partition. Then, how can we access the partition means we create a directory means folder. We create a directory and we will give link between the partition and directory. That link is called mounting. Okay, once a partition is linked with a directory, you can access your partition through the directory. So, MNT contains which partition is linked with which directory. What is this mounting? What is this linking? What is this giving link between partition and directory? This all separately I will explain. We have this session, separate session is there, partitions, class is there, at the time I will show. This concept is easy concept only. When I am explaining now, you will get confusion, a bit confusion, but this is very simple concept. When I will show you practically, you will understand for sure 100%.
Yeah, run means Madhuri? Are
Yeah,
you?
I will explain. So next one is run. Run contains external devices information and kernel information up to version from version 7. Up to version 6, boot contains kernel, media contains external devices information. From version 7 onwards, run contains external devices information and kernel information is maintained by run from version 7. Okay, I'm repeating
Yeah,
all once. So first one is forward slash. Forward slash is a parent directory or top level. And one more thing, I have a notes for this. One moment. I have a notes for this. If you want, you can take a screenshots. Okay, I'll show you after explaining again.
yeah, okay, sure, Madhuri. I will take a screenshot once you show.
Yeah. Then, but if you maintain your own notes, means it will be good also.
But it will to write it down, right? So
Yes, yes. Now just take screenshots, and
then I will not.
whenever I'm executing commands, the command notes also will share.
Okay.
You can prepare your own notes if you want. Otherwise, you can just use that notepads. But if you want to write your own notes, means you can write also.
Yeah, sure, Madhuri. That would be fine.
Yeah. So forward slash, it is a parent directory or top level directory in Linux. Okay. It is similar to C in Windows. It contains subdirectories. Directory means folder. So the first subdirectory under forward slash is root. Root is the home directory for super user. Root is the home directory for super user. Super user means administrator. As a super user, you logged in into your computer and you are creating any files or directories. By default, the data is going to store under root. Home is the home directory for normal user. As a normal user, you logged in and you created any files or directories. Data is going to store under home. Boot contains bootable files and kernel. Bootable files, OS bootable files and kernel. Kernel is stored from version 6 up to version 6, kernel is stored under boot. Kernel is stored under boot up to version 6 only. As bin contains super user commands, the commands which can be executed by super user. The commands are stored under as bin. Bin contains normal user commands. The commands which can be executed by normal user. The commands are stored under bin. USR contains default applications. Applications which comes along with operating system. Where contains log files. System log files are stored under where. Dev contains devices information, means partitions information is maintained by dev. Device means partition. etc contains configuration files. System configuration files are stored under etc. opt contains optional applications. Applications which we install manually. That applications are stored under opt. Bootable files means operating system bootable files. OS bootable files. Even in Windows also we have bootable files. Here also we have bootable files. Where contains log files, dev contains devices information, etc contains configuration files, opt contains optional application, media contains external devices information up to version 6, external hard disk, external DVD writer, external USB ports. These are maintained by media. MNT contains partitions and their mounted directories information. Run contains external devices information and kernel information from RHEL 7. Up to RHEL 6, boot contains kernel. Up to RHEL 6, media contains external devices information. From RHEL 7 version onwards, kernel is stored under run. Only boot contains bootable files, not kernel. Run contains kernel, and also external devices information is maintained by run.
HCL means
Clear
Red
this?
Hat something.
Yes. So those who are maintaining nodes, those who want to maintain the nodes, just take the screenshot of this. And for this, heading is introduction. Then write down, take a screenshot of this. History of Unix. You are in Linux class. Why history of Unix means in some interviews they are asking who invented Unix. They are asking that question also. That too for freshers only. Okay, so recently many interviews, my students only told, they ask who invented Unix, who invented Linux. This question also they're asking for freshers. So take a screenshot of this.
You are done, Madhuri. I have taken.
Yeah. Next, flavors of Unix. Using Unix source code, everyone they released their own operating system also. Linux also came from Unix source code only.
Okay.
Okay, using Unix source code, not only Linux, not only Red Hat Linux, many organizations released their own operating systems using Unix source code because Unix source code is open. Everyone can release their own operating systems using Unix source code. So not only Red Hat Linux, we also have different vendors who are using their own operating systems using Unix source code. So these are the vendors and these are the operating system. Still, IBM is using AIX server internally. Sun is using Solaris. These all are from Unix source code only. Take a screenshot. No one will ask you this question. What are the flavors of Unix? This no one will ask you. This is only for your knowledge purpose.
Okay.
Then history of Linux.
Yeah, done.
And the penguin is the official logo for Linux. And these are the distributions of Linux operating system. Not only Red Hat Linux, we also have different distributors for Linux. Like if you see router purpose is same, but not only Cisco router. We have different routers. D-Link, Linksys, different companies are there for routers, right? Same like
Yes.
that here also. Not only Red Hat Linux, we have different distributors. In this list, one more is not there. That is Kali Linux.
And
Hackers
CentOS
Linux.
not there, I think.
Yeah. CentOS comes under Red Hat only.
Red Hat, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, done, Madhuri.
So these are the versions of Linux.
Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Even Unix also
Completed.
source code and Linux also source code, right? Both are.
Yes, 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 yes. Unix is using Unix only they released it, and source
Okay.
code is free. And features of Linux.
It's done.
Done, ma'am.
Done. Hardware requirement, minimum requirement.
Done.
Recommended partitions and size. File system hierarchy standard. So this is the notes for that directories.
Okay. తిన్నారా? It's done, Madhuri. Thank you.
Yeah.
Printers also comes under run only for storage media.
Yes, yes. External devices will connect it to.
Yeah, speakers, printers, or something.
Yes, everything.
Okay.
Akhil, I'm typing answer for your question. And booting process of Linux also will show you.
Okay.
Now, recommended partitions and size. I have not explained this. So now I'm explaining this. So these are the recommended partitions in Linux. These are not compulsory. Recommended partitions in Linux. Okay. So why these partitions are recommended? Which partitions are compulsory? That I will show now. So recommended partitions, as you know that these are the recommended partitions: /boot, / /user, /var, /home, /swap. Sorry, swap. These are the recommended partitions. Then what are the compulsory partitions in Linux? What are the compulsory partitions means? / and swap are the compulsory partitions. / and swap are the compulsory partitions in Linux. / is compulsory because it is a parent directory. So / is a parent directory because it next is swap. It is a virtual memory. Swap. What is swap means? It is a virtual memory. Okay, means physically we cannot touch it. It is used to increase the speed of physical memory. And the size of swap is twice the RAM, double of the RAM. So / and swap are the compulsory partitions in Linux. / is compulsory because it is a parent directory. And swap is compulsory because it is used to increase the speed of physical memory. Means it is used to increase the speed of RAM. But swap is not a physical device. We are not going to insert swap. We create swap with the help of hard disk. We'll take some space from hard disk and we will create swap memory. And that space it will add to physical memory. This how to create the swap memory while installing the operating system. We'll see that creation of swap memory. And after entering to the operating system also we create swap memory. Why we create, how we create, that we'll see again. Okay, so 2 times we are going to create swap memory while installing the operating system, and after entering to the operating system also we can create it again separately. And what is the use of creating it means to increase the performance of our computer. And the size of the swap is twice the RAM, double of the RAM. Okay, but up to 4 GB. See, now if your RAM size is 512 MB, you can create swap memory. You can take space from hard disk, 1024 MB space you can take, means 1 GB space you can take from the hard disk, and you can create swap memory and you can add that space to RAM. If your RAM, physical RAM size is 1 GB, okay, so twice the RAM, 1 plus 1, 2 GB. 2 GB space you can take from hard disk and you can add the 2 GB space to your RAM. 2 plus 1, 3 GB. Using 3 GB, your RAM will work. Okay, so, but if you have 4 GB, if you have 4 GB means physical RAM plus 2 GB. It means how much? 4 plus 2, 6 GB. 6 GB space you can take from hard disk, and using that space you can create swap memory, and that space you can add to your physical memory. Now assume your RAM size is 8 GB. You have 8 GB physical RAM. Can you tell me using how much space you can create swap memory, virtual memory?
8 GB plus 2, 10 GB.
Exactly. Using 10 GB space, you can create swap memory, and that space you can add to your RAM. So 8 plus 10, now in your computer you have 18 GB. Physically 8 GB, virtually 10 GB. And now if you have something 12 GB RAM means 12 plus 2, 14 GB
14.
space you can add like that. Okay. Now, slash boot. This is not compulsory partition. This is only recommended partition. So up to version 6, 200 MB to 500 MB space is sufficient for slash boot. It contains only bootable files. So it requires only 200 MB to 500 MB space. So if you fix this size for slash boot means it will not take any space from forward slash. While installing the operating system, we create slash boot to avoid wastage. We will fix some size. It will use only that size. It will not use any extra space. Slash boot doesn't require any extra space. So this space is sufficient. So we'll give that space automatically. Then slash home. Slash home also not compulsory partition. This is also recommended partition as per your requirement. Slash home slash boot is recommended to avoid wastage. Slash home, why this slash home is recommended means two reasons are there. First reason is while installing the operating system, if you create slash home partition, then only it supports disk quotas concept. Disk quota concept is used to restrict the users in order to use hard disk space. If you want to restrict the users means while installing the operating system, we should create /home partition directory. Then only it will enable disk quotas in our partitions so that you can apply quotas to users. But now from version 7 onwards, disk quota concept is removed from Red Hat. No more disk quotas concept. So if you are not restricting any users, no need to create /home. That is one reason. Second reason, assume you don't created /home separately. You created only / because it is compulsory partition. For / you give something around 50 GB space. It means what? Every subdirectory under / can use that 50 GB space only. Okay, every directory will use that 50 GB space. If that size is completed, other directories cannot store anything in their directories because they all are under /. Example, your 50 GB space is completed. You store some data, everything is completed. Now, suddenly one of the user logged in and the user want to store some data. Where the data is going to store? In home directory, because home is the uh, default directory for normal users, right?
Normal user.
Home directory for It is the home directory for normal user. When normal user logged in and normal user is trying to store any data, home will check in /, but there is no space in /, so home cannot store the data in it. So that is the reason in real time what we do is we will add separate space for home directory. Like what I'll do is I will give 100 GB for my home directory. The users who are storing the data, they can use the 100 GB space or 200 GB, 300 GB, depends on number of users I will give the space to my home directory manually. No, you don't have any normal users because it is your own laptop or desktop. You're not going to log in as a normal user. Always you will log in as a super user only, means administrator only. In that case, no need to use separately space for home directory. This is completely depends on the requirement, the uses. Is this clear?
Clear, Madhuri.
Yes. And two more are there, where and what is another one? USR. These two are recommended only in server computers. These two are recommended only in server computers because in normal our own personal laptops or desktops, we don't require any log files. It is not required. We don't check any log files. But in server, it is not like that. In server, /var is very important. It play a very important role because it contains all the users logs information, how many users logged in, at what time the user logged in, what are the commands they executed. Every information is maintained by var. So in server computer, they will create separately var directory and they will give more space to that var directory so that every user information it stores in it. If there is no space, sufficient space in var directory, it cannot store the data. That is it. But var is very important. So we will in real time /var they will create separately and it maintains the information of each and every user. And next one is USR. As I told, USR contains default applications. So in server machines, they will run all the applications which comes along with operating system. 24/7, they will run all the applications because they don't know which user required which application. In order to give access to all the users, all the employees, they will run all the applications. So to run all the applications without interruption, they will give more space to /usr so that every default application will run 24/7 without any interruption. So these are the recommended and compulsory partitions in Linux.
I had one doubt
Yeah.
with respect to where, if suppose if the on server, if there are multiple users and their data is too much and the space allocated is less, then what exactly happens? That
They will take
particular
the
server
backup
gets
of
crashed?
no. They'll take the backup of where they'll clean
No,
the
but
where and they
no, no.
will
If
give the space.
okay, but there is no configuration done like that. So, like,
100% they will configure like that only.
okay, okay, no problem.
And we have LVMs. Generally, we create the partitions in Linux using LVM, Logical Volume Manager. If the space is not sufficient, immediately they will increase the size
Okay,
with the help
so
of LVM.
so we have
Yeah,
to do that configuration.
yes.
Okay,
Even that I
okay,
will
no
show
problem. Thank
also.
you. Okay.
I send the notes to Telegram group, your batch Telegram group. Okay. So this is for today's session. In tomorrow's session, I will show you how to install operating system. Hope you all are clear in today's session. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. Just revise the notes. Tomorrow also you can ask me. Those who registered, remember, ask them to add you into Telegram group. So you can ping me there also. Okay, everyone?
Yes, Madhuri,
Yeah,
sure.
sure.
Done. Thank you for the session. We'll meet tomorrow.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time. Thank you.
Thank you.